Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Fahd Dawood. I talk about real estate, your and my life, and our path to financial bliss. If you haven't already, press the subscribe button, hit it. Press the bell icon. We can stay in touch. I answer all about real estate, not just Dubai, but internationally. Today, I want to answer a very specific question that's come across to me, and I think it's going to help a ton of other people in the Dubai market specifically, but it can be relevant in any other real estate market as well, because essentially speaking, real estate at the fundamental level operates the same way. It interacts with you, the economy, the financial situation that you're in, the inventory, the law of supply and demand. It's pretty much the same thing. So if you understand the fundamentals, you can pretty much apply to your situation anywhere in the world, okay? This is a question that's come to me from a Dubai subscriber. I'll read out the question and then I'll answer it for you, okay? My best opinion, obviously you're welcome to disagree, but that's what I think that this person should do. So this is what the person says. Hey, I've been your YouTube video subscriber for a long time. I honestly find your videos very precise and informative on the Dubai real estate market. Thank you very much. I appreciate your kind compliments rather. I want to know your kind opinion on a property I've invested some time back with Dubai. It's a project called Serena. This project is now in the state of handover. Please advise your opinion of the property looking at the current market situation and rental returns as of now. Furthermore, I have already paid 40% of the installment as per the agreed SPA, and for the remaining 60%, please advise if it is in best interest to opt out the mortgage route or through personal loan facility, right? Okay, so let me begin with this, right? This person, bless him, and I hope and I wish the best for him going forward. Reaching out to me, I'm not going to say that they're in financial trouble, but there's definitely room for concern, which is why they've reached out to me, right? Especially when they've said the last part of their question is, should I get a mortgage or a personal loan facility? I can tell that this is a questioner who is perhaps, and I hope that they're not, but perhaps considering and very seriously what the consequences would be of taking on the loan facility and carrying on with the mortgage for this particular property, okay? I want to share a concern that I have for all property buyers who are going into the property market, and perhaps those who've already bought property, they can reflect on it. You know how I always say that property investment or the cash outlay into a property is the biggest investment you're going to make in your life? It's absolutely true, right? So the first is your car, the second is your wife, third is your property. But I'm flabbergasted, I'm amazed, I'm shocked at the number of people I come across who make investments into real estate without thinking through the entire process, right? I always tell people that, listen, when you get involved in the game such as real estate or the stock market or the gold market, always learn about what you're about to do and why you're doing it. And unfortunately, I don't blame anybody, but we as humans make decisions based on what the masses are doing, what our friends are doing, what others are doing, what a deal that looks pretty shiny and glittery. Sometimes we go into it. Like, I have my personal story. I lived in Toronto, Canada for 7 years, from 2000 to 2007. And when I was back in Dubai during the global financial crisis, when things got really bad, I thought, you know what I need to do? I need to go back to Canada, right? That's where money grows on trees. Things are all happy, hunky and dory. And I just need to run away from the adversity that was in Dubai, right? I reapplied for my immigration. I wanted to go and settle in Canada. But then in 2012, I got my head on straight and I thought things through. And I decided, like, going back and living in Canada is not really what I want to do. So I made a conscious decision to not do it. Unfortunately, I'd spent about many years going through the process, you know, getting my PR card, etc. Not my PR card, but getting to the stage where my interview was almost ready and get set go situation. But the thing I want to relate that to people who buy property is, like, you know, sometimes people, and I don't want to blame anybody, but sometimes people don't think through what they're about to do. And I want to narrate a story of one of my very close friends. We grew up in Dubai together about 5-6 years ago. He calls me up and he says, look, We live as a large family in one apartment. I think it was a 3-bedroom or a 4-bedroom, but he was living with his wife and his brother was living with his wife and his parents. Like, that's the Asian culture, right? That's Pakistani culture. You kind of like live together and huddle together. Not huddle together, but you make things move together sometimes, and it results in happy, loving families, and sometimes heads clash as well, right? So what he wanted to do was, he approached me and he said, I want to buy 2 or 3 bedroom apartments next door to each other so that we can all live in close proximity, but not under the same roof, or perhaps a large villa or so on and so forth. Great. Keep this story in mind, because I'm going to relate that to this person's story, okay? Because he's reached out to me and he said, hey, listen, I bought this property. What should I do? What is the current market scenario? Should I take a loan or should I take a mortgage, right? He's probably not even considered if he should sell this property, but I'm going to put that out on the table. Perhaps it might benefit him in the long term, okay? So it's been a long-winded point, but the point I was trying to make is that at the end of the day, what's critical and what's super, super, super important is, why did you purchase this property in the first place, right? Did you purchase it to live in it, okay? Are you and your family going to move into it? Did you purchase it as an investment? Do you want to rent it out? Because he talks about rental return, so I'm assuming he wants to rent it out. Were you thinking of flipping it, right? Which currently in the market scenario isn't going to happen. And then what's your personal financial scenario, right? Are you a business person? Do you have a job? Do you and your wife work, right? Obviously, we've seen pay cuts happening in the market right now, right? Is that going to affect your ability to pay for a loan? So on and so forth. So for me to give you accurate advice, I would need to know your personal situation, why you bought the property, and what is your personal situation right now. And I advise all users, all buyers, to look at their personal situation so that you can match it when you're buying a property. I'll tell you about my friend's story again, right? It's a little bit of a segue from his question, but I want this to benefit more people. So here he is, he's talking to me, we're talking 3 months back and forth. He wants to buy 2, 3 apartments next door to each other with the kind of money that they had as a down payment. They would have been able to do this. But here's what happens, right? His father and his brother walk into a launch by one of the premium developers. It's a quasi-government developer in Dubai that has launched townhouses. And this is back in 2015, I believe. It was still difficult to get into the room with a token. And then there's all this pizzazz and girls wearing short skirts and telling you how great this property is going to be. You can probably flip it when it comes ready. You can probably make 200,000-300,000 dirhams on your investment of only 5%, because I think you had to pay a 5% deposit at that time, and then the balance 20% over 2 or 3 years, and then 75% on handover, something like that. And he thought, you know what, we just died and come to heaven. This is an opportunity that was made for us, created for us. Here we had our money set to go and buy 2, 3 apartments. Hey, forget that. We'll just buy this townhouse, flip it, and make X number of money, and then we can buy and fully pay off our apartments, right? Didn't happen, right? What happened is, he ends up, his father and his brother end up buying this property, which is a 3-bedroom townhouse, which does not have built ensuite bathrooms in all the rooms, so it doesn't fit the needs of their entire family. They can't actually, right after they buy the property and sign on the dotted line, they realize this property is never going to meet our requirements, so we can't ever live on it. What should we do now? Look for the market to get better, try to sell. They couldn't. When the property came up for completion, what should we do now? Can we sell now? Has the market improved? It hasn't. He ended up going, and I think he ended up getting a mortgage with the bank, but the situation became really bad. No, it didn't really become really bad. I personally think I hope he doesn't lose out, but I personally think that, you know, when the property was ready, I think 2018, he should have or could have even sold at that time and gotten almost all the money out. Maybe lost about 2 to 4%. He decided not to do it. He went to a bank, got a mortgage. He's got a good job. And guess what he's done? He had this liability of a townhouse of 75% of the balance amount, went to get a mortgage, and now he's got a 15 to 20 year liability on his head, right? The moment he loses his job, that liability comes knocking, right? He rents out the villa or the townhouse and then comes back to ask me after 3 months, can I sell it now? And I'm like, did you rent it out already? Yes. Well, that's going to be a tough call, boy. You can't sell out a property in today's time that's already rented because most people are looking to live in it. If they're going to look at it from an investment perspective, they have to price it so low with the rent giving you 7 to 8% in rental income, or 9% if you want to make it an investors deal, right? So I said, listen, it's going to be a challenge just to do the viewings because you've got tenants in there, right? So now, long story short, he's in this. He's kind of like in this second marriage with his property for the next 10, 15, 20 years, waiting for the market to improve. He doesn't like it when I tell people, don't take a mortgage, don't take personal loans. I've seen them go against you many times, but I'm going to address that at the last bit, okay? Ooh, I've digressed, but let me come back to his question now, okay? Why did you buy the property in the first place? What was your vision, right? Maybe that vision is strong enough that you need to fight tooth and nail to carry on paying for this property and keep it as part of your family's legacy, your family's property portfolio, okay? So if it is, then you keep it, okay? I've already addressed it. A lot of times people, you'd be surprised and amazed. Like, you always imagine that when they buy a property that they would be really thinking things through. Unfortunately, in my personal opinion, they don't, which is why 7 out of 10 people lose money when they invest in real estate, okay? I am honest, I play it as it is, I call a spade, okay? I'm in the business of selling property, but hey, listen, even I've lost money, okay? And I've been doing this for 14 years now, okay? He asks me what the rental market is like. Okay, so Serena is pretty hot when it comes to renting it out, but the rents have come down, I believe. I don't know if it's a 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom. I think they're between the 70 to 80, 85 range. Depends on how much has gotten handed over in the community. Right at the initial stage, if you take on handover, then your villa or townhouse is one amongst a few. So you can quickly rent it out and ask for a good rent. When there's 100 townhouses competing for the same tenants, prices come down. Right now we're facing the corona outbreak. Tenants are trying to take advantage. We're in Ramadan. Summer is approaching. You know what? Rents are suffering. I'm not going to tell you a lie. And there's a lot of townhouses coming up online in that corridor. So, you might suffer a little bit. But there is a silver lining to this, okay? I talk about this. Look at the location. It's a little bit further out of Dubai, but that's how Dubai is. Dubai keeps building, and locations that are further out within 3 years to 5 years become quite central. Arabian Ranches, Sports City, Jumeirah Village Circle. Townhouses in Jumeirah Village Circle command a higher rent, even though the community is not that great, than townhouses in Serena and so on and so forth, because it's much closer to Sheikh Zayed, much closer to the center of the city. And Serena at some stage will also stop becoming part of the greater city, right? It takes some time. It's like every other city, it grows that way, right? So the location is pretty decent. One comment on Dubai properties: they are a very good developer. They are known to run the community really well. So right now, if you go into the community, you're going to face some construction. The community entrance isn't amazing. The community center is not ready right now. But if you look at all the other communities that Dubai Properties has delivered in that area, right? Waha, Layan, Mudon, these are like amazing first-grade communities, right? Arabella, you can look at Arabella, but Arabella is still at the early stage of it's at the 2-year post-handover stage. So the community is not fully developed. It's not fully landscaped. If you drive around, you don't feel like you're driving around in plush, nice greenery. But if you go to Mudon, if you had gone to Mudon 5 years ago in 2015, that place was hot, humid, and barren, right? Today, it's nice, it looks good. There's a lot of landscaping around that place. So same thing will happen to Serena. You just have to give it some time. It's gonna get delayed, but because people are gonna start taking handover of their villas. They don't have the money in their pocket. They don't want to sell it at a loss. They don't have the money to pay the service charges. So obviously things are going to get slightly delayed, right? Dubai Properties is not going to put money out of their pocket to make sure your community looks green because you or your other owners are not paying, right? But this is a worst case scenario, okay? Future property price, does the price go up? Look, I've talked about this on one of my blog posts. In 2 or 3 weeks that we've seen pass in the US, more money has been injected into the economy than the entire global financial crisis of 2008, 2009. We are looking at a possible re-knocking of the coronavirus by autumn. That's what they're talking about in the news. And I personally believe that in about 18 months, with all this money getting injected into the market, prices start going up. Most of the time when I try to make a prediction, I don't have a crystal ball. I try to make something what I feel as a gut feeling. Okay? This is a gut feel based on some realities. When so much money gets pushed into the market, that money at the end of the day has to go somewhere. So it goes to businesses, goes to homeowners who are looking to buy properties, it goes to people who are looking for personal loans, so on and so forth, because banks don't like to keep cash. They like to give it away because that's how they make money, right? So all this money coming back into the market, the UA market, essentially the globe follows what the trends happen in the US, right? So all this money coming to the US is going to get trickled down across the globe. You're going to start seeing people making money and then have to invest it, right? That's just the name of the game. That's just how it goes, essentially speaking, okay? So in 18 months, hopefully not 18 years, possibly prices improve, right? But go with what Warren Buffett says, right? If you can't hold a stock forever, don't buy it. But since you've bought this property and if you can't afford to hold it forever, don't sell it, because it's going to be a liability. Last but not the least, he asked me, I've paid 40% for the balance, 60%. Should I get a personal loan or should I get a mortgage? Look, me personally, I don't advise getting any of those. If you are in a position to sell, even if you want to take a loss, I would suggest sell, right? Remember my friend's story? I'm coming to it, right? One of my investors who's got a portfolio of 8 to 12 properties and he's made millions and millions of dirhams of money in the Dubai market and the UK market. He's very astute. He was part of the same launch of Arabella that my friend bought, and right at handover, he sold it. He made a loss. He made 2 losses, okay? One was, I think he had to pay 70,000 dirhams to the developer in terms of late payment on some penalties that he didn't pay on time. And then he, I think, lost 2% of the registration fees that he had paid. But you know what? I would rather follow the example of an investor who's got 8 to 12 properties, buys and sells all the time in Dubai, than somebody who's buying his first property and doesn't know exactly what to do as a next stage. Now, I know that the market's tough, and if you sell, you're going to take a loss. But check this out. If you take a personal loan at 7, 8% or 6%, or if you take a bank mortgage at 3 to 4% at a variable mortgage lending rate, what's going to happen, right? Oof. You're essentially taking the bank as a partner in that property. So if you borrow about 1 million dirhams, I believe on 1 million dirhams on the life of the mortgage you pay, I've done the calculation before, if it's in one of my videos, you end up paying about 500,000, 600,000 or more in terms of profit to the bank, right? The bank's in it to make money. They're not giving you money for free. So look, going back to my earlier point, why did you buy? Perhaps you made a bad decision, right? You shouldn't have been buying in the real estate property market. But if that decision was strong and you want your family to have shelter there, well, by all means, but assess, do you want this liability on your head? I am not a big proponent. If I do, I talk about getting only Islamic mortgages or Islamic loans, but it's a liability. Can you afford it, right? Gotta think this through. Take the loss today, like my friend investor did. Like, he lost about 150,000 dirhams, if you really think about it, but he moved on, right? So you'll be able to live, survive, and move on. Do not send good money towards bad money, right? I know it's painful to hear this, but trust me, I've seen this happen many times. You can live and survive to fight another day rather than chase a bad decision and try to rectify it by putting yourself on the hook with extra liability. My personal suggestion, brother, don't do it. But then again, I don't know your complete situation. If I did, I'd be able to give you better advice. That's about now. Hit the subscribe button, press the bell icon. I know it's been long-winded, and this would have been easier if we were doing it one-on-one and I could ask you many questions. But hey, I went with the information that I had. And perhaps, you know, if you are going to go with a mortgage, I hope the markets do turn around in 18 months and you're able to sell it. Hit the subscribe button, press the bell icon. Talk to you on the other side. Bye for now.